Hello, everyone. Welcome to the work stream once again. Hello. Morale is at a all-time low over here. I am extremely tired and I have not been sleeping well. And yeah, it's been rough. So, but hello, Farouche. Okay, I see a dot. You're Farouche. Thank you for adding that. Stephen and Anthony. Hello, Exotic Wilderness. We are gonna get through. I am dying to rest, and I still have roach husbandry to do. I'm trying to get everything in order before my actual vacation, which is 2 weeks from now, and the isopod master list is done. Hello, Jojo. Jojo, is this how you feel all the time? Exhausted. The master list of isopods has been finished. There's still stuff missing. There was stuff missing on the roach list too. I was perusing it earlier today, and I noticed that I missed putting Eublabrus marajora on the master roach list. So there's going to be things I need to add over time that I've forgotten about that somehow skipped my two-part listing process. So yeah, but for now, everything is up to date there. Flavor text is not done. That's going to be a whole other monster. I'm going to work on that next week after shipping. Shipping resumes next week. Blah blah blah. It's a whole. Everything's a whole ordeal, and I really should not be doing emails in my current state. What did I do today? What did I do? That was bad. Last night I have a big container for pairing up Dorcas titanus palawanicus. Alan's really mad at me because I keep saying I'm doing it communally, and he and at least one other person don't want me to kill the female, but I wanted to try a big setup to make things easier on me and the bugs. Sounds like Nazi's getting into something. Excuse me for a second, everybody. Man, I have good hearing sometimes. Not all the time, sometimes. Anyways, Big Dorcas Titanus Palawanicus is set up. It's one of my only bins that has a bunch of tropical pink springtails doing really well right now. So I've been grabbing springtails out of there to seed cultures with. And it's not a normal top opening container. It's a little side opening thing. It has a top opening. It has a side thing so you can. It was meant for raising flies and stuff. Anyways, so it's side opening, and I took the little side door off, and I forgot to put it on last night. So then I went to go add springtails to something today, and I was like, "Oh my god!" So the male was still in the enclosure, but then I was like, "Where'd the female go?" And there's all fish tanks underneath us. I was like, "Oh no!" It fell into one of the fish tanks, and it got eaten or something. But fortunately, I was able to find it. It was under the steps and on its back, and I just like rushed to it and rehydrated and everything. It didn't look too worse for the where it was just on its back, but it's like, man, I need to get away. I need to have a break from things for a bit. I am really really need a break. Full stop. So, Exotic Wilderness is having Epilamprine species Kodakinabalu, aka Borneo, recently started dying off. When they died, they shake and vibrate and twitch. Debunked it off not being pesticides. Do you have any clue what it could be? So you know it's not pesticides for sure, right? It could be bacterial. It could be yeast. I've seen that sometimes feeding apples and squash. It could Ain't good to nobody, especially yourself in this state. Yeah. Oh, wait a word, Anthony. Um, could be population density too. If they're too high density, a lot of epilamprinae really hate being high density. But hi, Alan. Oh wait, no, that's Kai. Hi, Kai. Um, Hey, Kyle, my epilamprinae. Kai also brought me some bugs from Florida. Very grateful for that. Um, but yeah, exotic wilderness. Kota Kinabalus are pretty uh, high population density resistant though, so I don't think that's it. It could be too dry. If roaches are drying out, that's how they'll die too. They'll look vibrating and shaky. But if you're watering them, then that's probably not it. But I lean towards it being something conditions induced. Um, if you've ruled out pesticides for sure, it's I think it's something else. Speaking of which, a lot of my bugs are just doing phenomenal right now. I'm working myself to death, but all my life energy is going into the bugs because so many cultures are doing really well right now. Kai would love to know you are breeding Dorcas on the stairs. Yeah. I gotta, boy, I'm gonna just toss that female in like a 5 gallon bucket with a bunch of, um, definitely not pesticides. None of my other roaches are being afflicted by the apples I've been feeding. Humidity, exotic wilderness. Have you looked into that? Like I said, that's another thing. When roaches desiccate, that's how they die. They sort of move twitchily and kind of like hunched forward, and then when they eventually keel over, you'll either find them uprighted and pushed into a corner, or they'll if they fall over while they're walking around, their most stable point is actually higher on their back, so they'll be on their back flipped over when they desiccate. Um, a lot of discussion going on in Discord right now. Anyways, what we are gathered here today to figure out the last piece of the Roach Crossing site update puzzle. I finished isopods. I finished roaches. Now I need to do a. Also, if anybody wants a distribution copy of the Roach or isopod lists, I have some public copies I can make available. I guess I could even put them in the Discord, but it's again, both lists are about 97% up to date with everything that I have. Isopod one less, so there's a couple things I need to put on there once I get more experience with them. But all proper names and stuff will be put on there and whatnot. Actually, they should do that to the isopod one before I distribute it. But anyways, so we're trying to figure out in this stream while I can. Exotic Wilderness, you can send me a video. It's just send it over. Just send me a DM and I'll look at it. I showed two friends your site and they both say it sucks. That's very kind of them, Kai. That's wonderful to say pre-update. Very encouraging. I'm okay with that. Anyways, most important thing, we got to figure out what categories we want things sortable by for all other inverts. So we have categories for roaches, we have categories for isopods. We need to figure out what things sortable and displayable for all other bugs, keeping in mind that I am roach crossing and not all bugs crossing, although some days it feels like that. I think I might. Millipedes might deserve their own list too. They might. Difficult to say, since I did one for isopods. But anyways, so slimy or non-slimy? Can't wait to see when everything has pictures and they are the same size. Yeah, I'm not sure actually. I have to look back through the pictures JoJo sent me to see if everything's going to be the exact same size. Slimy or non-slimy? Hopefully that's intuitive. Hopefully that's an intuitive answer, Anthony. So far what I have whipped up in this Excel document is higher taxon, which will be important for the automatic sorting features. So higher taxon will be things like, what was the name for silverfish currently? It's not Thysanura anymore. Zygentoma. So it'd be like Zygentoma, Hemiptera, be kind of by broader, higher taxon, gastropods, all that stuff, followed by Latin name, the locality, strain or cultivar, previously used names. That's kind of all standard rank and file stuff for bugs on the website across the board. Then we have average maximum body size, growth rates. Now, here's the thing with growth rate is I might generalize. Predatory. Predatory is actually a decent category to add, Stephen. Although I don't really keep too many predatory things. That's not the worst one to add, and it's a yes/no. Binaries are nice like that. So I'm just gonna put that in there as just we're gonna put it in there. It's a working category. Again, some of these things will be the flavor text for things can contain a myriad of information. This is just for the most basic sorting categories. A person says, speaking of silverfish, how many species have you been offered so far? Actually, that's a bit too unrelated. No, it's okay. So in the last couple of months, I was able to get some Leucolapisma back, but I don't think enough to get a colony established. We have Tenolapisma lineatum I was sent, which are doing well. It's too soon to say how they're going to do long term, but they're doing well. They've all molted there. Most of them are still alive. Tenolapisma longicaudatum. I already had a small colony, and I bumped them to a larger enclosure. So we're going to see how that goes. And they were reproducing sparingly, but it can be better. I think I'm really narrowing in on silverfish husbandry within the last year. Tenolapisma species Israel, I actually received a colony of those. Those are doing very well. Very similar to Longicaudatum, but assuming we had the same life stage of both of them, they're the macro lens. Very different scale pattern to the Longicaudatum, which I have, which is a lab strain. So that, possible they could be misidentified, but most likely they are actual Longicaudatum. Is there another one that I had a colony of? So that's why I've acquired in the last couple of months. I'm going to collect some in Florida too. If we do go down to Big Pine Key, I'm going to go looking around for those giant keys ones. I had them once before and didn't get anything out of them. Actually, it was funny. I set those up with the original Big Pine Key isopods, and the isopods really took off, and the silverfish just sort of tapered off over time. But again, I think I've got silverfish husbandry. I think I've got it narrowed down. So there's, if I collect them again, I think there's a very high chance of getting those established, fortunately. So yeah, and then I'm going to collect the Nicoletidae or whatever, the little yellow ones you find in leaf litter down there. That shouldn't be too difficult to get a good group of those and hopefully get those going. Propensity to invade your house. Oh, see, I don't really worry about that with anything other than like. Well, I usually put that in the species description at the beginning. So this is a household pest. Keep at your own risk, etc. So for roaches, it's a short category, because it's valuable to have for that for roaches. But for other stuff, like not too worried about it. Let's see, day active, nocturnal, or both, maybe. Yeah, that's fair. So people know if stuff's going to be out. I didn't put a category of that in with the isopods because I figured everybody knows that they're basically nocturnal unless you have a billion of them. Anyways, let me get down the list. Average maximum body size, growth rate. I might just do something arbitrary for that. I'm not going to say 1 to 4 months and sit here and think like, oh, well, what if they keep them cooler? Then it's actually going to be more like 2 to 5 months. It's just going to be kind of 3 very loose categories: fast, medium, slow, or whatever. The mid range I had for isopods categories or whatever I was using. Just very quick and easy, So in my head, I'll be like, yeah, if it's like 1 to 6 months, that's like fast. If it's, it's just very subjective, very fast and loose, just to give people a general idea. Because people generally read slow and they're anticipated that it may take forever. If they read fast, they kind of expect immediate results. So now I am thinking airflow, air humidity, and substrate humidity will stay for other invertebrates, and they may not be sortable, but they will be on the page with they'll be on the species pages. So I feel like that's some good information. So you have airflow for an Eleodes, high airflow, low air humidity, and then high substrate or like half substrate humidity. That's important information, but I don't think it's going to need to be sortable. I have notable color, primary pattern. I don't think I need to go into patterns for other bugs. I could. I guess some people like stripy things. Some people like spotty things. We have that thread going in the Discord that I think one person responded to. Thank you for that, by the way. So I might keep primary pattern, solid, spotty, stripy, complex. I synthesized some of the stuff from what was suggested, and I feel like I honed in on it for the isopods. There were a couple of exceptions. Oh, is this a distribution copy? No. So for isopods, I ended up doing. I looked at some formal classifications for patterns, and then I kind of extrapolated from that. Try to make something meaningful for isopods that wasn't too over the top. So we have the categorizations I came up with were bicolor. That's when something's very distinctly just one color, two color, kind of half and half-ish. Bicolor. Ornate, which is what stuff like Armadillidium, Nizatum, Vulgari fall into, where it's, they're not always necessarily spotted. They're not always striped or like speckled or whatever, but it's kind of a blend of different shapes. It's more it's different than just being solid. Because if you look at Nizatum, it's like, well, it's not really spotted because there's a pattern to it, but it's a very, it's an ornate pattern. It's very very different from saying one or the other. So I came up with that. Solid things that are one color. Skirted was a good one. I like that because there are some things that are just okay, one color in the middle and then surrounded by another color. Good. So there's skirted. Calico, it has a place in isopod classifications. It's been used for a while. It's more specific than any of the others. So some Scaber got that. Trachelopus got that. Cubaris marina anemones, basically a calico in that species. Spotted, striped, very basic. And then there was the other one I decided to go with was complex, which is different from ornate. It's more like, well, this is like spots and a skirt, or this is stripes and spots. What do I call this? It's so that would be something like Porcellio expansus, Porcellio succinctus. I think Porcellio bolivari is a good example of that because you've got the yellow, and then you've got the white, and then you've got the little kind of the streaks of black, little kind of stripes there. So it's like, it's a very complex pattern. There's a lot of components, so that's why I put that category to it. And then finally, for a very elite group of things for pattern, did I put anything on here for that? No, sorry. Blotch. Blotch was another one. That's like your piebalds and some of those things that seem to be heritable but not genetic, where there's basically a blob of color or lack of color over something else. So it's kind of like bicolor, but it's like, bicolor, think like your Cubaris species Jupiter. There's another good example for this that's escaping my mind right now. That was at the front of the mind with that one. Those was Cynodillos, I think, got bicolor because they've got red at the front and then the back of the body's gray or purple. So that was another bicolor. And then for colors, I basically went with the basic color recommendations. We had white, brown, black, red, yellow, gray, purples, orange, yellow. I don't know if I said that already. Green, blah, blah, blah. And then this is where the elite group of some things come in. There are some things get the rainbow categorization. So that's where I ended up with isopods. So I think I'm going to do that with other invertebrates, but keep it simple. So, notable color will be like those before. And then primary pattern will be solid, bicolors, striped, spotted. A very, very basic way of describing stuff. Maybe even less options than isopods. Uses, so feeder, pet, bioactive, composting, research, display, blah, blah, blah. That's that sort of stuff. Ease of culturing in the most generalistic terms. I'll probably co-opt the scale from roaches where we'll be, or from isopods maybe, or combine the two where you've got like bulletproof, beginner, intermediate, advanced, and then expert. So that'll be that. Most likely. I feel like that gives a solid range. Predatory, I just slapped that one on the list. A person, well, things like isopods and roach be sortable at a family level. Is that a bit too much? That is way too much for this, mostly because some of those things aren't even identified to family for isopods. Or, well, I mean, they're identified to family, but it's too much, too many moving parts there. It's more likely I could say, point people to the marine species file of aquatic and terrestrial isopods for everything that's identified. It's too much to go to family level at the moment, and probably ever. Pet dirt category, that's the bulletproof category. That's your Trichorhina tomentosa, your Venezilla parvis, and your Porcellio dilatatus kind of stuff. So, all right, moving down the list, we've got roach crossing favorite. If I really like the, I gotta have the day active category because that is valuable. And that'll be a yes or no, basically. So for day active things that don't mind by default hanging out, stuff in that category would be like zealous longipes, grasshoppers. What else is even day active? Pachnota are day active. as adults. So that's the star of the show. So that gets the that'll get the day active stamp. Nocturnal, Tafaliska. That's another thing that's nocturnal. I think earwigs are probably nocturnal in culture. You just say like earwigs. A lot of darklings, Eleodes, etc. tend to be. I mean, they may be out at all times, but anyways, roach crossing favorite. If it's a favorite species of mine, strain history. Where it originally, who collected it, where, when, etc. How I acquired the strain, who, when, etc. And finally, the pricing and the availability, and then the flavor text. So, anybody have any desires for things that you'd like sortable by in the for this is for every this is everything that's not roaches and isopods. So millipedes, crickets, beetles, all of that stuff. I'm gonna go through the master roach list one more time and see if there's anything else I want to co-op. Hatchling / newborn size. No. Time from birth to adult, no. Climb smooth surfaces, no. Because most things don't. And if they do, I will put it in their description. Minimum heat for culturing. That one wouldn't be so bad. I might put that in here. But at the same time, I have ease of culturing, and if something wants extra heat, I'll put it in the description. There's that, say this species needs a basking bulb, like with lubbers or things like that. Shiny versus matte. I don't know if I'm going to split those hairs. Minimum substrate depth, not going to do that. Naturally day active, we're keeping that. I think that's important because people don't always want stuff that's nocturnal, even though they love the heck out of tarantula rhinos. Burrowing behavior, not going to get into that. Preferred foods, that'll be in their descriptions. Cold resistance, I'm not really going to go into that. Space required for a sustaining colony, not really going to go into that. Uses we're doing, recommended for handling, that should be pretty intuitive with a lot of the other stuff. Again, the numbers of some of these other things are just completely dwarfed by the amount of isopods and roaches that I have, so I can write more of that into flavor text. So for all these, like these Grylus, for example, I don't have to have them as it doesn't need to be broken down as much, because for one, a lot of their husbandry is identical, and for two, it's roach crossing. Oh, Farouche, that is a great question. And if I do that, I like that idea. See, if we get things into where I want and need them to be, then hi Satchel. Hi everybody else who showed up too while I've been sitting here trying to keep my eyes open. That is a great idea. It has had immense value over the years. It does help people to find stuff that pops up that they may have been looking for that just got on the site. When the site launches, everything will just go as new. There's not going to be any distinction. But that is it's a good category. And if I decide, okay, everything's new when the new site goes live, that makes it easier because then everything I add after that I can just put a column for new, and if it's flagged yes, then it should just go up as something new. And yes, new products, that's what I mean. That is a good thing to have, and I think I'm going to add that. And it'll probably be the highest ranking anything can have, too. Because all the new stuff, whether it's roaches, isopods, blah, 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 dogs, whatever, can all go into can all just get put into that new update thing. And it may be, this should work fine with the way things are. But thank you. This is very important because it saves me a hassle of this later. I need to get another thing that I'm doing is everything is getting an internal ID number because this will help with the pages in the future. Everything gets an internal ID number, and basically it's starting at like what am I trying to say here? Brain, help me. I guess I'll sort this first. That crap. It'll keep the pages straight. Is the skinny of it. It'll keep the pages straight. Because if the name for something changed, it would be a bad idea to have the crap. Oh, I hope I didn't screw that up. Okay. Sorry, guys. I got to make sure I didn't delete everything in this document. That'd be very bad. Okay. All right, I think I did it. Okay. Okay, now I can add my new character. So there can't be. They're also currently on the site. There's like a, Vulgari page 1, 2, 3 for each morph and stuff that gets added, and that gets sold over time. So having an internal ID number for everything really is the way to go. And let's see. So there's our RC ID. RC ISO ID number. Crap, I just figured out how to do this. Ah, crap, I screwed it up. I made everything 2s. No. Okay, here we go. Let's see. All right, there we go. Now we have an established Roach Crossing Isopod ID number system. And then for all their bugs, it will just be RC. Oh, crap. I accidentally No, I didn't. Okay. Okay. RC bug ID number. So this will make pages a lot better because what it should do is all the roaches will just be numbered pages. So it should be like, again, Chris knows more so much more about what this will look like in the future. But, at the bare minimum, it'll be something like roachcrossing.com/for-sale/RC1. And that'll be the first roach with the internal number of 1 on the Excel sheet of stuff. And then for the first isopod, it'll be roachcrossing.com/for-sale/RC-ISO1. And then for miscellaneous bugs, it'll be roachcrossing.com/for-sale/RC-bug1. And that will just be, everything will have an internal ID. Which roach gets to be number 1? That's a good question. Let's see. I'll actually get that on to look at the list right now and just see, since we had somebody curious. Number 1 is, because I alphabetized the list, it's Aileropida insignis. Now, going forward, we have the release list of roaches that are going to be on the site, up to 252, and then all the roaches after that will be out of alphabetical order. So 253, because I forgot it on the original list, is Eublabrus marajoro, whereas all the other Eublabrus are like in the 100 range. So Aileropida takes that honor. Let's see. So will the newest species list just be most recent minus 50 or something? No, it should be, everything should have a flag for yes or no. Ruining the site in real time live. Yeah, that could very easily happen, because if Chris and I are able to set it up in this way that would make it very easy to manage, it also makes it very easy to mess up, because if I screw up something with the Excel sheet or it gets corrupted or whatever, it would basically cripple the whole site, assuming I did an update. So sorting by most recent works for me too. I think the species flag will actually be easier, because it's that's a binary category that the site can just draw from the Excel sheets for. And the RCIDs can just pull pictures from a folder that has all the roach crossing IDs in it. They can pull from their respective folders and their respective files of different sorts. Anthony Green says, you're going to have an upcoming project, maybe for exciting projects you are always doing. I don't know. I need to bring back the blogs, the posts, probably change them to being calling them posts, because that's more of what they are. And projects would go up there. But yes, that's something like that. Posts to keep the site. I mean, the site's going to be updating enough, but to keep something fresh always popping up on the site, which I was doing up until the horrors of what I'm doing now has happened. So yes, it is in the work to continue the posts, aka the projects, and hopefully the new search system will deprioritize posts and prioritize the species pages, because currently it's a mismatch, and it's my biggest gripe, and what really kicked off this whole overhaul was the search function not being what I want it to be. A person says, is there a way to make it automatically unflag new species after a certain amount of time? No, there shouldn't be, because again, everything will hopefully refer back to these spreadsheets to pull updates from. But that's not so difficult, because I can just scroll down, since the new roach crossing IDs are all added on top of what's already done. New stuff will always be at the bottom of the list, so I can just change the flags from yes to no, and it won't be difficult. Are your old blog posts going to be migrated over? I've debated this. I think Chris says, if we've even talked about that that's not an issue to do that. But I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it will be available as an archive. Maybe I'll download them all as offline web pages, and it will be available as an archive that anybody can pull up. So I'm not sure. Starting fresh does sound nice, especially testing out the search functionality. So yeah, I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna look into doing orders are probably going to be a little different. There might be a to order, click this link or click here to order, and it will bring you to a page that has a. I haven't decided yet. I have to find out what's most accessible, leaving the emails there or a form to fill out. The pros of doing the email, I mean, I can always just leave my emails there too, but the forms of doing a fill-in thing is obviously makes things a bit more standardized for people to buy stuff. Cons are I don't know if it's going to be mobile friendly, and to be honest, I have not checked if most of the site traffic is from laptops, desktops, pads, etc., or if it's mostly mobile viewership. So it's up in the air. That's one of those things that I'm going to sit here and bang my head against the keyboard for hours until I say, "Yep, that makes sense." The site, Anthony Green, I don't think I've seen something put so succinctly in a long time. The site overhaul and multiple auctions have destroyed your soul. 2024 is Kyle Crossing's year. Yeah, my work-life balance now is non-existent. I complained about it before, but right now it's absolutely atrocious, and I just keep thinking light at the end of the tunnel, because if we can make the vision come true, oh man, it will be everything that Kyle in 2008 would have dreamed of. You know, I would go back in time and show little high school Kyle, hey, you know how you used to look at Blabberous.com and you thought was the best thing? Well, here's your website from 15 years in the future. And gosh, I don't even know what I'd say back then to that. I think I'd have more questions than just being happy, that's for sure. Spring auction is rapidly approaching. Guys, we do have tentative dates for the spring auction. My next 4 months are tightly managed and booked between vacations, collecting trips, business meetups, various other obligations. My next couple months are, I cannot believe this winter's gone. Winter's gone for me. It's pretty much already over, because by the time I get away from everything, by the time I'm allowed to wake up and process my surroundings, it's going to be spring. So winter's gone basically. My schedule is already being planned into April. So with that being said, the spring auction's tentative date is, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to beat Tinley. I don't know if that matters too much anymore now that the auction has its own persona. But the auction is probably gonna be, I wrote it on the calendar, I think it was the second to last or the last week in April. It was either going to be April 19th, 20th, 21st, or April 26th, 27th, and 28th. And that's really how it has to be with the collecting trip schedules and the expos I have to vend and all that stuff. And then JoJo reminding, simply by being present. By the time I get all the pictures from the last photo session up on the website, we're going to have to do another one. So we'll talk about that. But I got it one thing at a time. I know I'm booked up to April, but one thing at a time. Everyone's phone also the ability to see desktop versions of any page they are. So don't bash your head over the mobile capable stuff. Yes, I don't want to bash my brains in too hard over it, but it is nice to at least have the site look nice on mobile for browsing. And so obviously another thing I'm going to have to beat beat the dead horse of Chris over is at least having the for sale sections look pretty on mobile. Do you have a moving date yet? No. There are many gears to the machine of what could be happening within the next 6 months. And there are dominoes that need to be lined up so they can be knocked over to allow for a successful move. And so basically, without saying too much, it could happen very swiftly and very swimmingly, or it could take a while because of the situation that myself and Angela find ourselves in right now. So there's a lot of moving parts. I'm not going to think about it probably at all until April, because again, there may come a day this spring where it's basically, all right, it's time to move, and it could happen very quickly, but it's dependent on a couple of other things, and so her and I have to talk about that. But in the back of my head, I'm not really stressing over it anymore because of how swimmingly things could go if the stars align with a couple of things. It could be easier than anything I could have ever imagined. So it's in the back of my head. I kind of already feel like I know what's going to happen, but we gotta, some other things have to be taken care of first. So yes, the current site works well on mobile. Just a question of whether or not the future one will, because it's entirely possible that it's just, the coding, everything's going to be scrapped from the editing, whatever, WordPress. We might even switch to something else. We've got to see what Chris is able to finagle and custom code for stuff. So but yeah, looking here, many of the pages other than the for sale stuff can just be transferred one-to-one to the new website. There's very little here that's going to require major brain think. All this stuff, a review of my terms and conditions. Again, all I have to do is basically go in to the pages, copy all the text, put it in a Word document, and wait for the new site framework to be ready and say, okay, we need one page for this, and one page for this, and one page for this. And that's all very straightforward. So terms and conditions, I just need to go over and do updates where applicable with the new site terminology and stuff. So that's nothing. All that's already written out. The using the site page may go away. May actually go away because a lot of that stuff is going to be front and center on the site. So again, like I have this like, yes, this is click on this and you will see this, and all of this. I mean, there's some stuff on here that's good to explain, like I have explanation for oviparous and ovoviviparous and all this other stuff. So that's not that's not too bad to go in and just tweak a little bit. So that's not bad at all. I can drop this new pricing, all this new pricing stuff if I want to. I can just say, Starter Colony is the best, smaller group of whatever. It's what I recommend. Let's see. Order/contact us. We're going to see how that goes. Some people are liking the form idea. Some people, I'm still a little hesitant, but it's nice to give people options. I can always say, you can submit your order to either of these emails, type a list out of what you're interested in, the quantities, or you can use the form below to automatically submit it, or, something like that. And the form can always just be, quantity. I don't like that because I don't think I don't think I want to have an autofill for quantities, because now I get somebody wanting 8 isopods. It's like, I don't sell them in 8 counts, sir or ma'am. So I don't know. That's another one I gotta brain think a bit. I was gonna do programs, but my life is too busy to do. I cannot do bug programs at this stage in my life. Maybe if I get an employee who's skilled, but has experience with public programs and whatnot. Like if I were to ever hire my friend Brandon Thomas, that would go there. But programs, I was like, oh, well, I can always go places and show off bugs, but a day is very valuable to me. Even part of a day is. So I don't think, especially now, so it's like I can't even fathom scheduling events and stuff like that. So that'll probably get scrapped. Care guides. I don't know if I'm going to have a care guides page. I think at the bottom of every Roach page, there will be if you have any additional questions, read the Roach Crossing Cockroach Husbandry Guide version blah blah blah, and that'll be linked at the bottom of every page, or maybe at the top of every page. I don't know. And then we'll just donate. People can just donate if they want to, or not if they don't want to. I don't know. Let's see what else. Research. So I kind of want to keep this tab. I need to update it very severely, but I'm going to start doing my own. I'm going to start doing, especially after I move, doing some of my own little fun science. I'm going to start doing some things that I would like to test for stuff is, for various reasons, is I'd like to do some freeze trials with roaches. I'd like to see, what roaches can survive 20 degrees Fahrenheit for 24 hours, stuff like that. I'd like to do, diet trials and humidity trials. And I like to do some more formal research on different aspects of cockroach husbandry and whatnot. And I think that those, they wouldn't be published in a magazine or in a journal or anything. Maybe they would be eventually. Maybe I'd be approached to do that. Or information about like wild habitats for roaches. So when I go out on one of my trips, I can say, oh yeah, we collected, Parker zebra in a leaf litter accumulation in Buell, Alabama on March 25th, 2023. It was sunny out and weather temperature was this, and we found this life stage, and the litter was, there's some species we found this with them were this ant and this millipede and blah, blah, blah. And the leaf litter was mostly last season's sycamore or oak or what have you. I think I'd like that a lot for some things. So I think some little publications like that would go in there. And that wouldn't be not publications, little research blips and stuff like that would go in there. And that would be a good place to have a permanent link to the husbandry pages as well that I've written, because that a formal account of captive husbandry for species is, there's value in that. They used to publish those a lot during, the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. We maintained a colony of blah, 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 and plastic milk jugs on a diet of oat bran and granulated powder sugar or something like that. Let's see where else. Scientific references. This would be a good place. There's a little bit of a blip. There's some blurbs on here about, I use information from the cockroach species file online, bug guide. I will add iNaturalist on there for some stuff for isopods, the marine and terrestrial isopod database thing. So that stuff will go on there, and then I'll just write a little blurb about, oh yes, I'm an accredited individual with a college degree from, I don't want to realize that I graduated from college 10 years ago. I'm not going to think about that. So I'll slap that on there too. The about us will be until future notice, until I hire on a full-time employee, will be an about me. I feel like having a big about me tab up there will say a lot more than about us, because it is just me after all. So there'll be some major updates to that. There's a cute photo of me with my dad at an expo from a real long time ago. Looks like 2012 right there. So that's gonna need a shiny new coat of paint coupled with my brand new expo rigs and all that stuff. Oh, I guess I do have a couple of semi-recent pictures there, but there'll be more. Some pictures of me catching bugs and getting wood dust in my eyes in Alabama would be a good picture. The royal we. I am far from royalty, but I do appreciate the royal we. But yeah, I think care guides. There's only one care guide. Every Roach page will have a link to the care guide on it, so I don't really see a reason to have a care guides page. It can be compressed into the research or research/articles or something. There'll be some talking head word for that stuff together there. And then that leaves us with the bounties. Bounties page is here to stay, everybody. It's always going to be there. Actually, I need to update that some of the bounties have been claimed. Still, nobody with pure Porcelio Scaber Whiteout, unfortunately for me. Nobody can trace their stock back to me, and the rest of it's screwed. So, it's an easy $1,000. That's a month's rent or mortgage, folks. If you can, if you got those pure Porcelio Scaber Whiteouts from Roach Crossing at any point in history. That came directly from me, or that somebody says, "Oh yeah, I got them from Roach Crossing. I never had anything. I never kept any other Scaber. I never did any of this." You can claim that bounty. You literally get $1,000 for just a dozen. I appreciate when people over send on their bounties. Somebody claimed the Centeno Lepisma bounty. I think I was offering 12 for $500 or something, and they ended up catching. I think it was closer to like 20, 25-ish or whatever. So I do appreciate when people go a little above and beyond. That's always appreciated, especially when the monetary amount is larger. But the bare minimum, you get $1,000. Did you get the Scaber with the weird morph name back? Which one? The Dragon Horns? I think that was the only other one I had a bounty out on, was Dragon Horns. And no, I have not received any Dragon Horns. I only ever sold them to maybe like 4 or 5 people. Let's see, Venezuela. Those have been. I said, strike me down. There we go. Paste. Strike out the text. Strike through text. There we go. Yeah, nobody's claimed that. Nobody's claimed the 12 for 200s Candy Stripes Maculatum bounty. Oh yeah, that's right. I put $3,000 on the Dragon Horns project, and nobody's gotten back to me. So that's they get thrown into the party mix genetic meat grinder, most likely. That is, or worse, just completely lost. Well, no, actually being thrown into the genetic meat grinder with a bunch of simple recessive mutations is probably worse than just being lost altogether, because you would have the phenotype, but then you would have just an absolute pain of a time trying to tease it out of that cesspool. So no, nobody's claimed the Dragon Horns bounty. And you know what? If I don't have them back like 2 years from now, I'll probably up it to 5K. If anybody has those damn things. Armadillidium Maculatum Dalmatian. Nobody's been able to get me back my original Dalmatians. They're different than what do they even look like? Basically, the base of the antennae and maybe like 1 or 2 segments up the antennae were red instead of being gray. And I found this is like in late 2018 maybe. I visited my friend in his apartment. I was looking through the scaber, like up in the cut grass up along the side of the apartment, and I found one that had just the bases of the antennae were red, and then I pulled that and a couple other individuals that were there, and then I started breeding for them, and I got the red up a couple of the antennae segments, and I was going to keep incrementally going down the antennae to get solid red antennae, but then I lost them because we had the big stressy depressy lemon zesty event of 2018/2019. So, but yeah, I have a feeling they're probably lost. I can no longer get into that apartment complex either because you have to know somebody who lives there to access it, and my friend no longer lives there. He lives down the street. So there's a good chance that that's been lost. So anyways, yeah, it sucks. That's how it goes with isopods though. Ligia, my Ligia bounty's still up there. I think somebody said they were going to get them to be me, but that's not no direct guarantee. Pseudophilus, Gracillipes apalachicola, that hasn't been claimed yet, but I can probably get more from TJ. Dynastes hideus from Ocala, Florida. Yeah, so okay, a couple of bounties have been claimed. That's good, better than none. But still waiting on those whiteouts. I mean, I sold a lot of them over the years, so I was hoping somebody out there still has them. Yeah, but yes, this will continue to be updated, and yeah, so it gives people a chance to trade for stuff they may want off the site or to make some money depending on the situation. And it gets me cool bugs, which is all I really care about. So, let's see. So, is there anything? I know someone in the server has a Lygidium species. Gee, I wonder what happened in 2018, 2019. I've had a couple, I don't know why my head's so itchy today. I had a couple of Lygidium species. And I don't know what I'm doing to kill them because they've done really well in the collection cups. They'll have babies, and the babies will eat leaves and grow, and then I'll put them into a full setup, and then I'll lose them. I'm still trying to figure out what the deal is with them. But Ligia I want because I bred, what was it, Baldoniana a couple of years ago, and they were easy. They just sucked because they were easy, but they sucked because I was taking really good care of them. I would feed them fish flakes every day. I only fed enough to make sure that they ate them all because I don't have any saltwater cleaners. I had them with a bunch of rock slabs and on brackish water, and there's nothing. I didn't have anything in with them to clean up the waste that they made. I didn't want things to get putrid, and so I only fed enough fish flakes for them to eat in one day. And when I stopped doing that, it was the day that I stopped doing that, they ate a bunch of their babies, and then at some point I just kind of lost enthusiasm for the project. I think I moved them into the basement instead of being. I think they were on the kitchen counter. But they did live a long time, and they grew big. They really wanted the daily care. Otherwise, they were super cannibalistic. So I'm hoping I can get some more again, and maybe I'll even do one of those automatic fish feeders that every day the little disc spins and it drops a couple of flakes out. But yeah, it was not something that needs to be fed at a small amount at the same time of day every day is the worst. That's more because if I left the fish flakes there for too long, they would get putrid, and they didn't want to eat them when they were putrid. They wanted them fresh, or even after they had sopped up too much of the water, they didn't want them really. So even a dog, you can put out food and leave it there, and the dog will feed itself, and the food doesn't go rancid or anything. So there's more work than a dog or a cat or anything like that, and that's just obnoxious. So maybe I could find something that won't get gross. Maybe something at the fish store, like a shrimp pellet or something they use for reef shrimp or something. How do they even exist in the wild? Well, you see, captivity is not the wild, and in the wild, one, you can get away from your conspecifics at any point. You can go under a rock, or you can scurry to another part of the wharf. So there's that. And two, there's actually a bunch of food in the wild, surprisingly, especially if you live on the beach, because there's always stuff growing. There's, if it's not photosynthesizing, it's breaking down other stuff. There's nutrients getting splashed on you constantly. There's stuff being splashed in from the ocean constantly. There's fresh seaweed that's got all little microbes on it, and biofilms, and little dead stuff washes up, and it's basically it's surprisingly a paradise for things in that sort of niche. And so something that's not a problem in the wild is a big problem in captivity, because there isn't an infinite flow of food coming in from the ocean. It's You're at the mercy of your handler, basically. So, got to set up a beach paludarium. I am not doing that. I like Ligia, but not enough to set up a whole gigantic paludarium for them. Oh, also, I don't know if I showed these all last time. I have to make a public apology for something, actually. When I was getting some of the data for isopods off the website, I realized that many of my measurements for isopods were completely wrong. And that's because when I was taking measurements for isopods before, I was using the website known as iruler.net, and I was using that as a reference for when I was picking sizes for stuff as I was putting the data into the computer. And the iruler.net was not reading my screen size properly when I was putting that old data in. So there's some things where it's like, why did I say it's 25 millimeters long? This is only like 15 maximum. So I have to apologize for that. Another thing that happened was, if I copied, this happened a couple times with the roaches too. If I copied data from, let's say I was like, oh, these two species are very similar in care. I'll just copy, I'll copy this data here and I'll put it and edit it on the new page. Sometimes I did not edit everything on the new detailed information. So, there could have been something like, Aranavega is very similar husbandry to Polyphaga aegyptiaca. And so I copied all the data for the Polyphaga, but I didn't edit the size. So I have to apologize for that. I don't know if it's a big enough deal to make a gigantic formal apology, but I especially noticed it with some of the isopod sizes. Like, this is way, 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 way off. So again, now we live in the time of Amazon. It is no longer 2016 or 2017, and Kyle is no longer saving every penny to afford a house and trying to get as many bugs up for sale as possible while doing that and not being able to afford supplies. So I bought this lovely pack of multiple. It came with like 5 different, varying lengths of metal rulers with millimeter increments. And this has been so wonderful. I love these so much, and now that mistake will not happen again. So, yes, there you have it. And with that, we're at the hour and 10 minutes mark. I will open the forum now. If you have anything that you want to add to suggest for sort categories for other bugs. So this will be for millipedes, for other bugs other than roach and isopods. Well, there's millipedes, and that's about it. Millipedes, harvestmen, beetles, web spinners, flies, stick bugs, what have you. if you have any categories you want to suggest for sorting, please recommend it now, because I will be plowing ahead on getting the information, the data put in. I need to finish husbandry tonight and or tomorrow, so I'll probably start on it next week. But it's not like I can't add things, but it will be easier to not have things to pester Chris to adjust when we get into a flow of making pages and the code is done and all that jazz. So, anybody have anything, any suggestions for sort? Grain pest category. That would be such a meme, wouldn't it? A man can dream, can't they? Anybody else out there with sort suggestions? I was just thinking like maybe a preferred foods category, but if again, even the predatory seemed like it was an okay category, but now that I think about it, that would be the first thing that I would mention in one of the first things I've mentioned in the species profile is, is it predatory? So there will be a way to sort by taxonomic groups. Yeah, Satchel, there will be for bugs other than roaches and isopods, there is a higher taxon category, and it will probably be, again, Zygentoma for silverfish, Diplopoda for millipedes, Chilopoda for centipedes. I don't know if I'm going to get I think I would like to have it broken down further where, like Zooptera for if I ever get that tropical species, so we'll have Hubbardi and that other one. Embioptera, Hemiptera, Phasmatodia, Mantodia, etc. I think I would like to split hairs with that. So it may be, and that'll be a major classification too, because for each thing, when you go to the for sale roach crossing thing, there will be, first thing you see is roaches, Blatodia, roaches. And you click on that, and that will take you to the roach sort function. Then it will be isopods, isopoda. Click on that, it takes you to the isopod sort function. And then there will probably be a separate, no, there will not be a separate sort function for everything else, because there's not an overwhelming number of other things that you can't go through the individual species profile. So this will be information that is available. Well, actually, no, I guess I do have to have another sort function for this. Okay, there will be another sort function that will filter through all the bugs as one generalized category, excluding roaches and isopods. But there will be, a little picture of a millipede, of whatever millipede I decide is going to be the most clickbaity, maybe a Centrobolus or a Gigas or something like that. Millipedes, beetles, Coleoptera, beetles. And then you will be able to go in and you'll see all of the profiles with their own little image squares, basically, of the primary image for each species. So I'm debating the predatory thing. I got to think about how many of these will be sortable categories for other bugs, because again, primary focus is roaches, secondary is isopods, and then after that is this other stuff. And it's not like that information won't be available on the pages. So I gotta debate, because I don't want to make life can be difficult updating, getting this information on there, but it can't be excruciating is the thing. And also let's see what Chris can do too. So, okay, everybody, thanks for joining me for this fragile category. I'll probably mention that if something's fragile in the species profile, not in a sort or categorically or detailed species stats. Anyways, everybody, thank you for joining me for another work session. We will get through this eventually. I don't know when, but we will get through this. And now that I finished splitting hairs over these categories and stuff, I can finish up the I can finish up the putting the data in for the other bugs, and maybe next week we'll get back to an actual Roach wiggle, with the updates on how my cultures are doing and all, having some fun. Having some fun instead of this, I need you guys to tell me what you want right now, sort of stuff. So, thank you for informing the direction of the site. And again, yeah, let's look forward to maybe next week will be more lighthearted, and I'll be able to sit here and ramble about the things that I enjoy instead of getting down to business. So, I will see you all next week.